And welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight, Diane Howe, a housewife whose specialist subject is the life and career of Sir Kenny Dalglish. Evan Lynch, a PhD student in chemistry, who'll be answering questions on the novels and novellas of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Amy Latimer, a master's student in American Study, whose subject is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And Naveed Azam, a GP, specialist subject is the films of Christopher Nolan. Four contenders facing the alluring prospect of becoming the nation's Mastermind champion, but the very daunting prospect of the spotlight, the black chair, and, of course, the clock. 2 minutes on their specialist subject, 2.5 minutes of general knowledge. So let's ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Diane Howe.
Your occupation?
Housewife.
And your chosen subject?
The life and career of Sir Kenny Dalglish.
The Scottish footballer was hugely successful as both player and manager. In 2 minutes, starting now. In 1977, Liverpool signed Kenny Dalglish from Celtic as a replacement for a striker who'd been sold to Hamburg. Which striker?
Kevin Keegan.
Correct. Dalglish's first senior goal for Celtic was a penalty against Rangers at Ibrox in 1971, when he famously delayed taking the spot kick in order to do what?
Tie his shoelaces up.
Yes. Which club did Liverpool beat at Wembley in the 1978 European Cup final? Dalglish scored the only goal of the game.
Bruges.
Correct. Dalglish won the European Cup for the third time as a player in 1984 when Liverpool beat Roma on penalties at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. Who was the Liverpool manager that season?
Bob Paisley.
Joe Fagan. In 1986, on his 100th international appearance, Dalglish was made captain for the day by Alex Ferguson and led Scotland to a 3-0 victory against which country?
Romania.
Yes, after Dalglish's Blackburn team won promotion to the Premier League in 1992, they paid a reported British record transfer fee to sign which striker from Southampton?
Alan Shearer.
Yes. What was the name of the Scotland manager who gave Dalglish his full international debut in a European qualifier against Belgium in 1971?
Tommy Docherty.
Is correct. Dalglish played at least 3 FIFA World Cups and was selected for a 4th, but had to withdraw from the Scotland squad because of a knee injury. Which country hosted that tournament?
Mexico.
Yes. The Dalglish family set up an appeal in 2005 in the name of Kenny's wife to raise funds for cancer treatment. What was the name of the charity?
The Marina Dalglish Appeal.
Yep. Liverpool won the League and FA Cup double in Dalglish's first season as player-manager, and he scored the title-winning goal in their final league game of the season against which club?
Chelsea.
Yep. Dalglish resigned as Liverpool manager in February 1991. In what position in the league table was the club at the time?
First.
Yes. Dalglish scored a century of league goals in Scotland and later repeated the feat in England. His 100th goal for Liverpool was against which club in November 1983?
Ipswich Town.
Is correct. No passes, Diane. You've scored 11 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Evan Lynch.
Your occupation?
I'm a PhD student in chemistry.
And your chosen subject?
The novels and novellas of Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the Nobel Prize-winning Colombian author, best known for his novels such as 100 Years of Solitude, Love in the Time of Cholera, and so on. 2 minutes, starting now. In Love in the Time of Cholera, Dr. Urbino's pet bird escapes from its perch to the top of a mango tree, and the fire brigade is called to help bring it down. What type of bird is it?
Parrot.
Correct. In 100 Years of Solitude, Father Nicanor discovers that Jose Arcadio Buendia's crazed ravings are not gibberish. What language is Buendia in fact speaking?
Sanskrit.
Latin. What is the name of the character who inherits his love of firearms, horses and birds of prey from his father and who's killed in Chronicles of a Death Foretold?
Santiago Nassar.
Correct. In the novel In Evil Hour, Father Angel objects to the cinema showing a film on the day that a man is being killed. What's the full title of the film?
Tarzan and the Green Goddess.
Correct. In Leaf Storm, the doctor's the only medical person in town until a new company arrives and organises a clinic for its workers, which leaves the doctor without patients. The new company trades in what food?
Bananas.
Correct. What game does the General play with Friar Sebastian de Siguenza in The General in His Labyrinth? The General claims that it isn't a game, it's a passion, and I prefer bolder ones.
Dominoes?
Chess. Benedicion Alvarado, who's said to have conceived her son without recourse to any male, is the mother of the central character in which novel?
The Autumn of the Patriarch.
Correct. What substance had Aureliano Buendia's father taken his son to discover one afternoon, according to the opening line of 100 Years of Solitude? Buendia recalls this incident as he faces the firing squad.
Ice.
Yes. In what make of car with a duck-quack horn does the family of Bayardo San Roman arrive in the village in order to gain the approval of Pura Vicario in Chronicle of a Death Foretold?
It's a Model T Ford.
Yes. In Love in the Time of Cholera, Florentino Ariza learns to play a musical instrument by ear like a professional after just a few lessons given by the German emigre Lothario Tugut. What instrument?
Violin.
Correct. What creature is kept by the title character in No One Writes to the Colonel? The Colonel's wife complains that they're starving in order to feed it.
A rooster.
Yes. And that's it. Time's up. No passes, Evan. You have scored 9 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Amy Latimer,
Your occupation?
Master's Student in American Studies,
And your chosen subject?
the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
The organisation that played a key role in the American civil rights movement in the 1960s. Here we go. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, known as SNCC, was formed in April 1960 at a conference in North Carolina. Who was the executive director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, who organised the conference to unite the student civil rights movement?
Ella Baker.
Correct. The first chairman of SNCC was a Fisk University student who later became the mayor of Washington, D.C. What was his name?
Marion Barry.
Yes, the statement of purpose for SNCC, in which the organisation affirmed its non-violent principles, was co-written by James Lawson, a Vanderbilt University divinity student and action group leader. In which city?
Nashville.
Yes. In his speech at the 1963 March on Washington, the chairman of SNCC said of the Civil Rights Bill, "One man, one vote is the African cry. It's ours too." What's the name of that chairman?
John Lewis.
Yes, SNCC declared its opposition to the Vietnam War shortly after the murder of an activist and a former U.S. Navy serviceman in Tuskegee, Alabama, in January 1966. What was his name?
Pass.
What was the name of the president of Guinea who met a SNCC delegation during their tour of Africa in 1964?
Pass.
The maths teacher, Bob Moses, ran SNCC's first voter registration campaign in which small city in Mississippi?
Macomb.
Yes. On March 21st, 1966, 5 SNCC members were arrested in New York for a sit-in protest at the consulate of which country?
Pass.
Which actor accompanied Harry Belafonte to Greenwood, Mississippi in 1964 with $70,000 of donations for SNCC? When they got there, their vehicle was chased by members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Pass.
What 2-word name is generally given to the animal depicted in the logo of the Lowndes County Freedom Organization founded by Stokely Carmichael? The same name was later adopted by a more radical civil rights movement.
Black Panther.
Is correct. You had 4 passes, Amy. Sidney Poitier was that famous actor who accompanied Harry Belafonte to Greenwald. That sit-in protest was at the consulate of South Africa in '66. And the name of the president of Guinea was Sékou Touré. And SNCC declared its opposition to the Vietnam War shortly after the murder of Sammy Young Jr. You have scored, Amy, 6 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Naveed Azam,
Your occupation?
general practitioner.
And your chosen subject?
The films of Christopher Nolan.
The British director whose films include Interstellar, Inception and The Dark Knight Batman trilogy. 2 minutes, here we go. In Nolan's 2002 film Insomnia, which Oscar-winning actress plays the local detective Ellie Burr?
Hilary Swank.
Correct. What's the name of the mob boss played by Tom Wilkinson who has Chill, the murderer of Bruce Wayne's parents, killed outside the courtroom? In Batman Begins, Chill had been granted early release for his testimony against him.
Carmine Falcone.
Correct. At the end of the bank robbery that opens The Dark Knight, the Joker says to the bank manager, I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you... what?
Stranger.
Yes. At the beginning of the third Batman film, organised crime has been wiped out in Gotham City and its dangerous criminals put in Blackgate Prison because of what act? It was named after the former district attorney.
The Dent Act.
Correct. What is the name of the cinematographer who's been the director of photography on a number of Christopher Nolan's films, including the Dark Knight trilogy?
Wally Pfister.
Yep. On their way back to England after being rescued in the film Dunkirk, two soldiers come up on deck to see the cliffs and ask whether it's Dover. What county does Peter tell them it actually is?
Monmouth.
Dorset. In Inception, what pseudonym does Cobb use in the dream world? It's also the term the team gives to a gambit designed to turn Fisher against his own subconscious.
Inception.
Mr. Charles, what name do scientists give to the huge black hole which has appeared in Interstellar? The crew flies so close to it in their ship, the Endurance, that they lose 51 Earth years.
Gargantua.
Correct. In Memento, what is the name of the bar where Natalie works as a waitress and where she and her boyfriend, Jimmy Grants, deal drugs?
Verdes.
Yep. Who directed the 2013 film Man of Steel, for which Nolan co-wrote the story and acted as a producer?
Zack Snyder.
Correct. What is the name of the production company founded in 2001 by Nolan and his wife and co-producer Emma Thomas?
Syncope.
Correct. In Following, what item of jewellery does Cobb leave as incriminating evidence in Bill's flat? It's found by the police, along with some underwear and a stolen credit card.
Earring.
Yes. What is the name of the central character of Walter Finch's mystery novels in the film Insomnia?
Brody.
Brody, did you say? That is correct. No passes, Naveed. You have 11 points. So that's the end of the first round, the specialist subject. Let's have a look at the scores. In fourth place with 6 points, Amy. Third place, 9 points, Evan. Joint first place, 11 points apiece, Diane and Naveed. And so we're into the general knowledge round now. And if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let's have Amy up again, please, if she would. And you start out with 6 points, Amy, but we've got 2.5 minutes of general knowledge, so loads of time to catch up. Here we go. What trophy in men's golf, donated in 1927 by a British businessman, is now contested every 2 years between professional players representing Europe and America?
The Ryder Cup.
Yes. Which major nerve in the human body extends from the lower end of the spinal cord down the back of the thigh to just above the knee? Its name derives from a French word that means pertaining to the hip.
Sciatic.
Yes. Who wrote and illustrated children's books such as Father Christmas, Fungus the Bogeyman and The Snowman?
Pass.
What is often used as a standard measure for cookery ingredients in North America and is equal to 8 fluid ounces?
A cup.
Yes. In Greek legend, Cassandra, Hector and Paris are 3 of the many children of the wife of King Priam. What is her name?
Cassandra.
Hecuba. The magician and illusionist Stephen Frayne from Bradford is better known by what stage name?
Dynamo.
Yep. What peninsula in southwestern Europe is occupied by Spain, Portugal and Gibraltar?
Iberian.
Yes. Which British pop singer played the title role opposite Alain Delon in the 1968 film Girl on a Motorcycle?
Jane Birkin.
Marianne Faithfull. What tall wading bird that resembles a heron has species that include the black-crowned, the whooping and the sandhill?
Crane.
Yes. Which German fashion designer, known for his distinctive white hair and dark sunglasses, was the artistic director of Chanel from 1983 till his death in 2019?
Karl Lagerfeld.
Correct. According to Ohm's law, voltage divided by current gives what property of an electric circuit?
Amps.
Resistance. What word derived from an Old Norse term for a household assembly originally referred to a platform on which candidates were nominated for parliament? In modern usage, it's a term for a meeting where election candidates address potential voters.
Hustings.
Correct. Bauxite is the main ore of which metal?
Iron.
Aluminium. Which French impressionist artist painted Luncheon of the Boating Party, completed in 1881? It became part of the Phillips collection in Washington, D.C. in 1923.
Seurat.
Renoir. Mott the Hoople reached number 3 in the UK singles chart in 1972 with a song written by David Bowie. Which song?
Pass.
Which Irish revolutionary leader was killed in an ambush in 1922 at Ballina in his home county of Cork? Go on. Take a stab at it. No? What a
can't.
pass. You'll be cross when I tell
will.
you. Michael Collins. And you had 2 other passes. That song, written by David Bowie, was All the Young Dudes. And Raymond Briggs wrote and illustrated Father Christmas, Fungus the Bogeyman, etc. Amy, your total now is 14 points. And next, Evan again, please. And you start out with 9 points, Evan. Let's see how you do with your 2.5 minutes of general knowledge. Here we go. What word is defined as a group or meeting of witches? The term traditionally referred to 13 of them.
Coven.
Yep. Which day of the week is Manic in the title of a 1986 hit single by the Bangles?
Monday.
Yep. Who was appointed to the chair of astronomy at Gresham College in London in 1657 and the civilian chair of astronomy at Oxford in 1661 before he turned to architecture?
Christopher Wren.
Yes. Which Gilbert and Sullivan comic opera is subtitled The Peer and the Peerie?
Iolanthe.
Yes. Which former leader of the Liberal Democrats was hired by Facebook as its head of global affairs and communications in 2018?
Nick Clegg.
Correct. What fast, sensuous dance of Brazilian origin, which couples perform in close physical contact, has a name that can be translated from Portuguese as a beating or lashing?
Lambada.
Yes. Discovery, Bountiful and Laxton Superb are all varieties of which fruit?
Apple.
Yep. The Principality of Andorra sits among the peaks of a mountain range between France and Spain. Which range?
Pyrenees.
Correct. What word of Latin origin is an alternative name for a wart, especially a painful one on the sole of the foot?
Bunyan.
Veruca. The songs A Woman's Touch and Secret Love feature in a 1953 musical film set in the Wild West that stars Doris Day and Howard Keel. What film?
Pass.
What do the initials CRT stand for in the name of the device that was once an integral part of television sets and computer monitors?
Cathode ray tube.
Yep, the farm workers depicted in a well-known 1930 painting by Grant Wood were based on his sisters Nan and his dentist Byron McKeeby. Which painting?
American Gothic.
Correct. In a ballot in 2018, a joint bid by 3 countries won the right to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup finals. These were the United States, Mexico and...
Canada.
Yep. Marquess of Hartington is a courtesy title normally held by the eldest son of which English duke?
Devonshire.
Yes. Which small inlet of the Firth of Clyde served as a base for American Polaris submarines from 1961 to 92?
Scapa Flow.
Holy Loch. What name of American origin is given to a double-decker sandwich made with 2 layers of filling between 3 slices of toast bread? The name applies regardless of the filling, but that normally comprises chicken, bacon, lettuce, tomato and mayonnaise.
Club.
Yes. Who defeated John Higgins in the final of the 2019 World Snooker Championship? He'd been beaten by Higgins in the final of the same competition 8 years earlier. Well, you're saved by the bell in a manner of speaking. Take a guess.
Yes.
Yes, I'll tell you. It was Jed Trump. Yeah. And your other pass, that musical film, was Calamity Jane. However, Evan, you have now rocketed up. You have 22 points. And now Diane again, please. And you start out with 11, 22, the score to beat. So here you go, 2.5 minutes of general knowledge. Which bodybuilder turned actor and politician has had the nicknames the Austrian Oak and the Governator?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yep, what starchy vegetable is an essential ingredient of the Irish dish known as boxty?
Potato.
Yeah. What's the name of the fictional Edinburgh-based detective created by Ian Rankin, who made his first appearance in the 1987 novel Noughts and Crosses?
John Rebus.
Yes. Which global music streaming service was founded by the Swedish entrepreneurs Daniel Ek and Martin Lorentzon? It was launched in 2008.
Spotify.
Yep. What relatively common British bird of prey is sometimes known as the tourist's eagle because it's often mistaken by non-experts for the larger and rarer golden eagle?
Ptarmigan.
Buzzard. Which of the volcano islands, 650 miles southeast of Tokyo, was the scene of intense fighting between Japanese and American forces in February and March 1945?
Okinawa.
Iwo Jima. What word represents the letter G in the NATO phonetic alphabet?
Juliet.
Golf. Which fencing sword was the first to be used in international competition by both men and women? It has no cutting edge and comes in two forms, the French and the Italian.
Foil.
Yep. What was the surname of the British husband and wife television producers Jerry and Sylvia, best known as the co-creators of Thunderbirds, as well as other similar puppet-based children's programs?
Anderson.
Yes, the best-known work of the English composer Richard Adinsell is a concerto written for the 1941 film Dangerous Moonlight and named after a European capital city. Which city?
Vienna.
Warsaw. Which river, previously known as the River Zaire, is one of the world's deepest rivers and reaches depths of more than 700 feet?
Congo.
Yes. Ahmed Sukarno was the first president of which Asian country? It declared independence from the Netherlands in 1945.
Goa.
Indonesia. What rank in the Royal Air Force comes between wing commander and flight lieutenant?
Pass.
What adjective derived from Latin words meaning about and a day is applied to the biological rhythm whereby certain processes repeat approximately every 24 hours?
Diurnal.
Circadian. What name is given to a line on a weather chart that links places of equal atmospheric pressure?
Isotherm.
Isobar. Which French artist was inspired by the overthrow of King Charles X in 1830 to paint one of his best-known works, Liberty Leading the People?
Pass.
What is the occupation of Hugh in the title of an opera by Ralph Vaughan Williams? The work was premiered in 1924 and is set in the Cotswolds during the Napoleonic Wars.
Butcher.
Drover. What word for a sentimental longing for the past comes from the Greek for homecoming and pain?
Pass.
Which U.S. senator from Which U.S. senator from Wisconsin was responsible for the so-called lavender scare of the early 1950s in which gay men and women were forced out of state employment?
McCarthy.
It was indeed Senator Joseph McCarthy. You had 3 passes. That French artist, inspired by the overthrow of Charles X, was Delacroix. Squadron leader comes between wing commander and flight lieutenant. And you'll be cross about this one, that sentimental longing, nostalgia. There you go. Nearly did, though, Diane. You've got 19 points.
Thank you.
And finally, Navid again, please. And you also start out with 11 points. 22, still the score to beat. Here we go. Which royal house grew out of the union of the houses of York and Lancaster in 1485?
Windsor.
Tudor. What name for a type of boat with 2 hulls comes from the Tamil for tied wood?
Pass.
In 1956, the American Broadcasting Company, NBC, adopted as its logo an abstract illustration of what colourful bird?
A heron.
Peacock. Which river flows into Lake Geneva at its eastern end and flows out at its western end?
Danube.
The Rhone. The 1974 book The Rats was the first novel by which British horror writer?
Clive Barker.
James Herbert. What chemical compound with the formula H2O2 is widely used in an aqueous solution as a bleaching agent?
Peroxide.
Yes. What long, flat variety of bread loaf has a name that is an Italian word for slipper?
Ciabatta.
Yep. In 1957, which Spanish artist painted a series of variations based on the 17th century masterpiece Las Meninas by Velázquez? They're in the collection of the museum in Barcelona that bears his name.
Pass.
Which actor received his first Oscar nomination for playing Rocky Sullivan, the reform school boy turned hardened criminal in the 1938 film Angels with Dirty Faces?
Pass.
Which landlocked South American country has the guanilla as its currency? It has borders with Argentina, Bolivia, and Brazil.
Laos.
Paraguay. Molten rock is referred to as lava when it's on or above the Earth's surface. What's it called when it's beneath the Earth's crust?
Magma.
Yes. Which television game show that began in 1982 has been presented by Richard Whiteley, Des Lynam, and Jeff Stelling, among others?
Antiques Roadshow.
Countdown. What best-selling video game designed by a Swedish programmer named Marcus Persson in 2009 allows players to build and explore three-dimensional worlds in creative or survival mode?
Minecraft.
Yep. Which American rock singer performed 236 concerts over 14 months during a residency that began in October 2017 at the Walter Kerr Theatre in New York?
Ozzy Osbourne.
Bruce Springsteen. In 1792, which future poet laureate fathered a daughter called Caroline, whose mother was a French woman named Annette Vaillant?
Pass.
What alliterative name is given to the 6 priestesses of ancient Rome who tended the sacred fire of the goddess of the hearth?
Oracles of Delphi.
Vestal Virgins. In which winter sport do Scotland and Canada compete for the Strathcona Cup, first held in 1902?
Rowing.
It was curling. Yeah. 4 passes. William Wordsworth was that future poet laureate who fathered a daughter called Caroline. And James Cagney was in Angels with Dirty Faces. Pablo Picasso was the artist who painted those Las Meninas masterpieces. And that boat with 2 hulls comes from the Tamil Tide Wood, Catamaran. You have scored, Naveed, a total of 15 points. So, let's have a look at the final scores. In 4th place with 14 points, Amy. 3rd place with 15 points, Naveed. 2nd place, 19 points, Diane. 1st place, 22 points, Evan. And that means, of course, that Evan goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/Mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.
First, sitting down in the chair, it's really intimidating. You know, all the lights come down, you've just got this big beacon of light in the center. Yeah, it's quite stressful. I thought I got away with it slightly. I got some lucky guesses, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I want to compete, I want to go up against the very best, and hopefully win the whole thing.